Hi, my name is Dr. Roth. I'm here at Eagle Endodontics, and quickly today I just want to talk about one of the most questions that I get asked by other general dentists or even endodontists. What is the sealer that I use the most? And I always get a surprising reaction when I say Roth sealer. They're like, well, why aren't you using the resin-based sealers? And there's tons of them out there, so I'm not going to go through the list. And I think the reason why most people use the resin-based sealer is because it's easy to mix. It actually comes in a pre-mixed syringe. There's no mixing involved. The only issue with the Roth sealer is that people have to mix it. It takes time. It's time-consuming, and they don't want to deal with that, especially after they've worked so much for doing a root canal. And the last thing they want to do is sit there for another 10 minutes to mix the Roth sealer. Well, here today I'm going to show you a quick, easy way to have your Roth sealer cement ready in a pre-mixed format to where it's easy to work with. Okay, so next let's begin with what you're going to need. Now, first I recommend using a glass slab. Now, what a glass slab is, obviously you can see, is autoclavable, and you spend all that time cleaning and shaping the canal and keeping it sterile. So why not make sure that the sealer that you're going to use is not contaminated? Now, obviously, since our Roth sealer does not come in a pre-fitted syringe, we're going to be using this glass slab to mix it, so make sure it's sterilized and you don't have to worry about cross-contamination. Which leads me to the other point, is why I don't like using paper pads. The mixing pads come in two forms. One form actually has a wax coating over it. The reason I don't like to use those is because the wax coating can come off when you're mixing it, especially with Roth sealer, where you really have to get in there and mix the sealer. The second reason type that comes in is the ones without the wax coating and they have a paper coating. The issue with the paper coating, it can absorb some of that eugenol, which therefore you would have to add more eugenol as you're mixing. And the number one reason why I don't like using the mixing pad is that it's never autoclaved. We grab it with our dirty gloves and use it, then stick it back in the drawer. So because of this, it's always contaminated. Personally, I never use mixing pad. I always toss them away when they come with my supplies. Next, what we're going to need is a spatula. So this is standard ordinary spatula, again, autoclave. Third, what you're going to need is a 3cc syringe with a needle tip. Now, this syringe can be autoclaved. As you can see, it has been autoclaved. It will not distort in shape or size, and it could definitely be used once it's autoclaved. Fourth, what you're going to need is a 2x2 pad with alcohol. It's going to be soaked with alcohol. Finally, let's talk about our sealer. Now, the sealer comes in a powder liquid form. The powder being Roth root canal cement. And this jar that I'm holding is actually a 200 gram jar, which I got for $280, and I bought it directly from Roth International. Now, if you don't use this every day, I would recommend getting a 50 gram jar, which is smaller in size. And being an endo practice, we end up buying the 200 gram because we go through quite a bit of root canals and we use a lot of sealers. But given that, we still takes us quite a long time to go through this bigger jar. Now, the other thing I liked about the powder is that it never expires. So let's say even if you get the large jar such as this and you never use it, it doesn't expire. So you could have it for 2-3 years if you need to. Next, we have our eugenol. Now, the eugenol comes in a much smaller bottle, and I'd recommend the smaller bottle because, first of all, it's an oil. So the oil will be able to absorb a lot more powder. So the powder to liquid ratio is going to be a lot smaller as far as the oil is considered. Now, unfortunately, the eugenol does expire. And the way you can tell if the eugenol is expired is by looking at it, the color. So when it's fresh, it has a yellowish brown color. When it does expire, it's going to be more of a darker brown. So if it starts to look like motor oil, most likely you need to replace it. Okay, great. So that's everything you need. Now let's move over to the mixing station and we'll begin to mix the Roth eugenol cement. That's money, 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 money. Okay, so as you can see, I have everything laid out. Now as you can see, I have not placed the eugenol in one section and then powder in the other section and add to it as you go by a conventional system. I put a lot of cement on the outside and the eugenol in the middle, and I'm just going to start mixing. It's no exact science, so here we go.
That's money.
As you can see, basically this is what we have mixed. Now the standard is that you could draw it for 1 centimeter for up to 10 seconds, which is what we have here. Except we want it a little bit more liquid than this, because after all we are going to be sitting it in our syringe and it will be setting over time. So I'm going to just add a little bit more eugenol to get it a little bit more liquidy than what we have. So maybe 1 drop or even 2 drops would be great. So I'm just going to start mixing. Okay, so now as you can see, it's slightly a little bit more gooey, but not as gooey as it was, or stiff as it was to begin with. So next, we're going to load it up in our CC syringe, as you can see here. So I will take the backing off right here. And there we go. And then we just put it in like cake icing. So just go ahead and mix it in. Now here is where the 2x2 came handy. I'm just going to clean off the excess around the back. Okay. Then we're going to put our plunger in, which didn't reverse it, so you can kind of get it in. There we go, and plunge it in, and that's it. So now where the needle tip comes in place, obviously you don't want this to be leaking out while it's sitting in your drawer. So this is where the needle comes in. That's basically your cap. Keep it from sealing out while it's sitting in your drawer. Now a lot of you are going to ask, well, this is a lot of sealer and it's going to set. What's the point of mixing this and having this sitting around? Well, the great news is that something like this will probably last a month before it starts to fully set. So, and it also depends on temperature. If you have a really hot office or really cold environment, then yes, it will set a little bit faster. But if it's in the syringe like this and it's in such a large quantity, it does not set, and it takes about a month for it to set. Now the other thing is, so when you're ready to mix to use it, you just take the cap off, put a little pea drop on your glass slab, and that's it, and it's good to go. Okay, well I hope you enjoyed this little short video on how to conveniently mix the Roth sealer. If you have any questions, feel free to send me a comment. Thank you. Bye.
That's money.